All right, let's dive right in, shall we? The Super Mundial de Clubs de FIFA 2025 is right around the corner, and we're here to break it all down, especially for you Flamengo fans out there. We all know you're eager to see how they'll stack up against the best in the world.
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be massive. We're talking 32 teams, a brand new format, huge financial stakes, and of course, everyone has an opinion.
Well, luckily for us, we've got this special edition of a Flamengo-focused podcast to guide us through it all.
Yeah, they really went depth on this one.
So let's start with the basics. The draw is happening in Miami on December 5th, 2024. Then the tournament kicks off on June 15th, 2025, and runs all the way through July 13th. That's a whole month of football. They're really modeling it after the FIFA World Cup this time around.
It's a huge change. I mean, think about the old Club World Cup format. This is a whole different animal.
Definitely. And the podcast really digs into how the teams are ranked before the draw. They've got these 4 pots, and, well, let's just say it's a pretty impressive lineup.
It's like a who's who of global football. You've got your European giants, South American powerhouses, Asian champions, the whole works.
So walk me through these pots. What makes them so important, and where does our favorite team, Flamengo, fit into all of this?
Okay, so the pots, they're based on, rankings and stuff, and they determine the seeding for the draw. Basically, the higher the pot, the stronger the team is supposed to be. And get this, 3 Brazilian teams, Flamengo, Palmeiras, and Fluminense, they're all in pot 1.
Wow, all 3 in pot 1.
Yep. It really shows you how strong Brazilian football is right now. I mean, they're considered among the best in the world.
It's pretty exciting to see Brazilian teams making their mark on the global stage, especially Flamengo. So being a top seed, what does that actually mean for them going into the draw?
Well, it gives them an advantage. They're more likely to avoid the other, super strong teams in the group stage. It could mean a smoother path to the knockout rounds. At least that's the hope.
So the draw could really make or break their tournament, huh? What about the other Brazilian teams, though? Any chance they could end up facing each other?
Oh, there's definitely potential for some spicy matchups. Botafogo, for example, they're in pot 3. So it's entirely possible they could get drawn into the same group as one of the pot 1 Brazilian teams.
Ooh, an all-Brazilian group stage clash. Now that would be something to see. The rivalry, the passion, can you imagine? Brazilian football is known for its drama. And speaking of drama, let's talk about the draw itself. How does this whole thing actually work?
Well, to understand that, we got to dive into the FIFA rules. They've got all these rules to make sure the groups are balanced and, diverse.
Yeah, I've heard these rules can get pretty complicated. Break it down for me. Pretend I'm like a casual fan who just enjoys watching the beautiful game.
Okay. Think of it like a giant puzzle, right? You've got pieces, each one representing a team from a different continent. And you can't just put any 2 pieces together. You can't have 2 South American teams from the same pot in the same group.
So they're trying to mix things up geographically, avoid any regional rivalries clashing too early, I guess.
Exactly. And there's another rule about teams from the same confederation. They can't face each other in the group stage either. So Flamengo wouldn't be drawn against another Brazilian team in the group stage.
Makes sense. Keep things interesting.
Exactly. Although there's an exception for European teams. They can have up to 2 teams from the same confederation in a group.
So UEFA gets a little special treatment.
Yeah, well, they do have a lot of strong teams.
True enough. So basically, they're trying to create this truly global tournament, right? With a mix of playing styles and tactics.
That's the goal. And with 32 teams, it's going to be quite a spectacle.
It's like they're trying to make it as unpredictable as possible. But all these rules, they create this crazy web of possibilities. And in the podcast, they actually talk about some dream and nightmare scenarios for Flamengo, depending on how the draw shakes out.
Oh.
Yeah, it's always fun to speculate, right? So let's start with a potential nightmare scenario. Just imagine. Flamengo gets drawn against Chelsea from pot 2. That's tough enough already, but then they also get Boca Juniors from pot 3. Talk about a historic rivalry. And to top it all off, Urawa Red Diamonds from pot 4. The reigning Asian champs. Man, that would be a group of death.
Chelsea, Boca Juniors, and the Asian champions.
Yeah.
All in one group. Yikes. Yeah, I can see why they call that a nightmare, but on the other hand, think of the matches. I mean, those would be some intense games. All right, so what about the opposite? What would a dream draw look like for Flamengo?
Okay, so in a dream scenario, they might get someone like Red Bull Salzburg from pot 2. They're a strong team, don't get me wrong, but maybe not as intimidating as some of the other pot 2 teams. And then from pot 3, maybe Leon. A solid team, but not quite at the same level as, say, some of those Mexican powerhouses. And to round it out, Auckland City from Pot 4. They're practically a regular at the Club World Cup by now. So Salzburg, Lyon, and Auckland City. Yeah, that does sound a lot more manageable than that nightmare group. It's amazing how much the draw can influence the entire tournament, isn't it?
I know, right? It's not just about, who's the best team overall. It's about who you face in those early stages, building momentum, all that stuff. Speaking of which, this new format, it's going to present some unique challenges for everyone, but especially for the South American teams.
The podcast mentions that, yeah. What are some of the key challenges you think Flamengo might face, especially considering they've got their domestic ambitions as well? And this tournament format, it's pretty grueling.
Well, for one thing, the length of the tournament. A whole month. That's a long time. And the intensity, game after game, it's a different beast compared to, say, their domestic leagues. I think maintaining that peak performance over such a long period, that's going to be a major test for them.
I can imagine. It's like running a marathon versus a sprint, right? You can't just go all out from the start. And they're going up against, like, the best of the best, week in, week out, with no room for error. Plus, on top of that, they still have to worry about their league and cup competitions back home. That's a lot of pressure.
Tell me about it. I think they're really going to have to manage their squad carefully, rotate players strategically, make tactical adjustments as they go. It's a test of their depth, their flexibility, their mental fortitude, not to mention the weight of expectations from their fans.
Right. Flamengo fans are known for their passion, let's put it that way. Speaking of expert opinions, the podcast also brings up some insights from Mauro Cesar Pereira and PVC. They're both pretty big names in Brazilian football. What do they have to say about Flamengo's chances?
Mauro Cesar Pereira, he talks a lot about the pressure on Flamengo. They're expected to win, or at least go far. And with this longer format, the travel, the potential for fatigue, all those things could come into play. He also points out that South American teams, they're just not as used to this kind of sustained intensity, which could be a disadvantage.
So it's not just about talent and skill, it's also about adapting to this new format. Make sense? What about PVC? What's his take?
Well, PVC, he sort of echoes that sentiment. He's all about strategic planning, squad management, that kind of thing. He sees it as a marathon, not a sprint. Got to pace yourself, conserve energy, peak at the right time. He thinks Brazilian teams really need to rethink their approach, maybe adjust their tactics to really succeed in this group stage format.
It sounds like they both believe that Flamengo has the potential, but they're going to have to be smart about it. Adaptable. Resilient. Yeah. It's interesting to hear those tactical considerations, alongside the raw talent and passion we always associate with Brazilian football.
It's a different game at this level. This tournament, it's as much a mental and strategic battle as it is a physical one. But hey, let's not forget about the rewards. We're not just talking about bragging rights here.
Right. The financial stakes are pretty huge, too.
Oh, yeah. The podcast mentions some serious financial incentives, especially for whoever wins the whole thing.
So how much are we talking about here?
Well, each team gets a fixed fee just for participating, although there's some uncertainty about the exact amount. It could be as high as 50 million euros, but there's a chance it might be reduced to 20 million because, FIFA's been having some financial challenges lately.
Even 20 million euros, that's a lot of money. For a club like Flamengo, that could make a big difference.
Absolutely. Think about what they could do with that. Invest in new players, upgrade their training facilities, all sorts of things. And then there's the prize money for the winner. That could be over 70 million euros. So yeah, the financial incentive is definitely there.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of money. But I guess beyond the money, there's also the prestige, right? The global recognition that comes with winning a tournament like this.
For sure. It's a chance for Flamengo to, solidify their place as one of the top clubs in the world,
right.
Attract more international attention, maybe even boost the overall marketability of Brazilian football.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about the impact on Brazilian football as a whole.
I think this Super Mundial could be a game changer for Brazilian clubs, honestly. It's a platform to showcase their talent to the world, attract more investment. Brazilian players are already doing great in the European leagues, the national team's looking strong, and this tournament, I think it could really push Brazilian football to the next level.
So it's bigger than just Flamengo. It's about raising the profile of Brazilian football in general.
Exactly. If Flamengo and the other Brazilian teams, they put on a good show, it could have a ripple effect, boost their reputation, attract more scouts, sponsors, even better broadcasting deals.
That's amazing to think about, how one tournament can have such a big impact. But let's bring it back to Flamengo for a second.
All right.
They are a top contender, no doubt, but they've also got these unique challenges ahead of them.
Yeah, it's a real tightrope walk, isn't it? Domestic success, international glory. It's a lot to ask. Think they can pull it off?
It's the question, right? I mean, can Flamengo, with all that talent, all that ambition, adapt to this month-long tournament and still have enough left in the tank for their Brazilian competitions?
Exactly. Do you think Tite will even try to go for both? Or will he have to prioritize one over the other?
Tough call. It's a real balancing act. If they go all in on the Super Mundial, it could leave them vulnerable back home. But then if they don't take it seriously enough, well, they might miss their chance to really make a statement on the world stage.
It's a tough one, no doubt about it. No easy answers. But that's what makes it so interesting to watch, right? We'll get to see Tite's tactical genius, or maybe his tactical nightmare, unfold in real time. And ultimately, it comes down to the players. Can they handle the pressure? Can they rise to the occasion?
Well, we'll be watching for sure. Can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Me neither. December 5th, that's when things really get real. The draw, who's going to be in what group, all that.
Oh, the anticipation, mapping out Flamengo's path, analyzing their opponents, speculating on their chances. It's going to be a wild ride.
We'll be here for all of it, don't worry. Breaking down every scenario, giving you all the insights you need. Should be fun.
So to our listener, remember, you came to us wanting the inside scoop on the Super Mundial de Clubes de FIFA 2025, especially for Brazil, especially for Flamengo. And hopefully we gave you that. We've got a tournament full of potential, drama, and excitement. Flamengo, they're definitely a team to watch, but it's not going to be easy.
It's going to be a battle. But hey, that's football. Anything can happen. One last thought for you all to consider as we wait for that draw. Can Flamengo, with the support of their incredible fans, navigate the challenges, overcome the odds, and find that balance between domestic dominance and international glory?
Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, we'll be here to witness it all. Until then, keep your eyes on the ball, and we'll catch you back here for another deep dive soon.